Hello, welcome to another episode of Drinking with Comics. My name is Sean.
I'm Mike.
And Mike, let's not bury the lead this time. I did that last episode. What are we drinking? This was actually my pick, I'll tell you. I'm inflicting this upon
Yes.
you. Black Horse Brewing from Clarksville, Tennessee. Great brewery. Their IPA, not a fan. Um, I've just, it's a fine IPA, but this comes in these variety packs where it's three of four of their different beers. And we've covered a couple of them on this, and we haven't covered this. And I've bought I don't know how many of these variety packs, and I just never drink the IPAs, so I have a bunch of them. But the funny thing is, before that happened, before I discovered these 12 packs,
Mhm.
my neighbor Mike, different neighbor, different, my neighbor Vince, I've talked about on the show before. We've given each other beer, but my neighbor Mike, he was like, "Hey, do you like IPAs?" And so he gave me a bunch of these, and I was like, "Why would you buy all these IPAs and give them away?" And now I know it's because he was buying the same 12 pack and not drinking it. So I
Oh
don't know how many of
boy.
these fucking things I have, but I have quite a few. And we're going to drink one tonight because we haven't covered this on the show yet. So I'm sorry,
So,
Mike.
how do you feel about IPAs, period?
I've just, there's still a few that I like. And I don't think that they're bad beer. I've just lost my taste for them largely. And I don't know, man. Like this one, you're going to see. I think of this, I literally think this one tastes like hop juice. That's just like what it tastes like to me in my head. I've never had hop juice, so I don't know why I come up with that. But I'm
It's
sure
hop juice is literally IPA.
I'm sure that connoisseurs of IPAs would like this because it's a great brewery, and all their other beers I've had are great. It's just it's not them. It's the style. So let's
Yeah,
crack this fucker open.
I'm not an IPA.
I
Mine's
know.
settling. I'm not an IPA drinker either. I did have a couple every once in a while, like if they mix it with a fruit or something, I could be
Yeah,
like, okay, I have a one I'm gonna give you soon that I'm curious to get your opinion on. That actually was an IPA with a fruit that worked really well. But in general, it's just, you know what I like about it? It stops me from drinking.
yeah. I know that feeling.
Like,
I
okay, now I have a beer that I'm just gonna, okay, this isn't good, but I'm not gonna down it. And I'll just sit here and chill and talk and have a conversation with friends.
yeah. It would be
Okay.
a good like before the craft beer explosion really took over. Back when I lived in Chicago and I was a bartender,
Hmm.
I used to work with this crazy waitress, and we'd go out sometimes to the 5 a.m. bars after work and just get fucking hammered. And there would come a point where inevitably I'm like, I can't drink beer anymore because I'll just keep sucking them down. So I would switch to Dewar's neat because I
Okay.
don't like Dewar's scotch. And so people are always like, well, if you don't like it, why are you drinking? I'm like, because it makes me sip. Like if I'm sitting here in a bar, I
Exactly.
need to have something. So this is my
This is
new
very
Dewar's.
sippy, yeah.
See,
That is not bad. If you're an if any indication of things I dislike about an IPA are good things for IPA fans, you'll dig this, guys.
I think so. I agree.
Hipsters.
Uh,
Um, Not the worst thing I've ever had. Very hoppy though.
it's funny when I taste
Cloudy.
this, I can remember when I liked IPAs. So there's this moment where I'm like, oh, but then it rolls across my tongue. I'm like, not there anymore. Taste change, people change.
Like the
Uh,
Malort of beer.
I like Malort, but I mean,
I
not
do
like,
too, but
you know,
that's the thing is like I never really picked like the things I'm getting off this is the same things I'm getting off Malort, where it's just like I never even put two and two together that Malort's basically an IPA
no, I
with its
woud go that far. I know
bad,
what you mean. I understand what you're
yes,
saying, but
like with
I
its
wouldn't go.
grassy undertones and
I'd
um
I'd love to see that
dandelion
on
feels.
somebody's can. Grassy undertones. If you make an IPA out there, if any breweries are listening, You can use that. That'd be great. And we'll if you
Yes.
do it, message us. We'll feature your grassy IPA.
Yeah. Grassy
Um,
undertones.
7.2% alcohol. Again, Black Horse Brewing, Clarksville, Tennessee. And, it isn't, I know it's a good beer.
Yeah.
I'm not even pouring it because I feel like when I pour these and it opens up, I like it even less. So this, drinking it from the can,
How cloudy that
it's
is.
very cloudy. Drinking it from the can, it stays cold longer and it kind of concentrates the the taste of the beer a little bit, which one would think might make it harder to drink, but I don't know. It's
Think I like a warmer IPA. I like the IPA as it gets warmer, maybe. Maybe because it stops you from drinking as much still. I don't
maybe.
know.
Do you see there's like the back end of this, right? So like what when you drink it, what remains on your tongue, like the middle and front of your tongue, is this flavor that I can tell. So you mentioned the fruit IPAs, and there's that.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about this on here before, but like Lagunitas makes a grapefruit sculpin
Okay.
I,
I don't think I've
IPA,
ever
and
had that.
it's really good. And the thing is, I think it's that one. Um, that's okay. That one I believe has grapefruit added to it, but grapefruit like IPAs naturally have an almost grapefruit flavor. This one does.
Yeah.
There was a Goose Island IPA for a while that I don't know if they discontinued or what, but that one had a serious grapefruit thing, and there was no grapefruit added. So that was, like kind of revelatory to me. I was like, oh, so the Sculpin, the Lagunitas, which I can remember drinking that at the Roxy. No, not the Roxy, the Rainbow Bar, the place where Lemmy used to hang out. I remember going to see Windhand at the
Okay.
Roxy, and I was next door, the Rainbow Room. Lemmy was not there, and drinking
Was it
the
spot marked off?
yes, oh yeah, yeah. Um, this is when he was still alive. Drinking the grapefruit sculpin, and it was like just on tap. It was so fucking good. It was so good, and now I don't know how I would feel about it. But I remember like I just remember how enjoyable and like effervescent and refreshing it was, and now I'm just like I don't know if I'd feel the same way.
I've had, I think it's called Daisy Cutter, which was like an all day IPA, and that was pretty good. Because it isn't sucker punching your face with the IPA bitterness that this like normal IPAs like to sucker punch you with. So I remember liking that one a lot. Um, and this isn't bad.
It's
That's
actually
my thing
growing on
about
me.
IPAs. Yeah, it grows on you after the end, and then you go like, yeah, that was good, and then you like go, do you want another? And like, no.
Yeah, more the more I drink it, I think you're actually spot on with Malort.
Are you tasting that? Like it's
Yeah.
that, yeah, it's the bitterness of Malort that people um that that we like to watch people get tortured when they drink it.
We should do a Malort episode. That'd be great. I mean, I don't want to drink like a shit ton of it, but we could sip on Malort and do an episode. I think that'd be cool.
Oh, I would love to. I have the bottle still left over that Brown brought over to our house one day.
When was that?
2 years ago, maybe
Oh, I don't even
three.
remember that. I have a bottle here. I picked up a bottle when I was in Chicago a couple months back, and I just broke it open fairly recently.
Hmm.
Mm.
Well, there's our backup for next time we don't have matching beers.
Mike, talk to me about the comic book that you wanted to talk about this week.
Oh, so my pick was you. I think you messaged me like, "Hey, I'm reading Imperial. We should do that." And I was like, "Cool. I'm in the middle of reading Ghost Rider versus Galactus, and this is amazing." And yeah, so there's the matchup I've been waiting for years for, Galactus or Ghost Rider versus Galactus, which I didn't know I need to read. Um, Written by Michael J. Straczynski, who is a solid writer. I've
Yeah.
always thought he was did a decent job on Spider-Man, even though it wasn't one of my biggest runs, but there was parts what I read and liked. Um, and artwork by Juan, I can't pronounce that name. Not in this dark mood light setting.
I don't have the book in front of me, so I can't back you up.
Yeah, we'll cut that part out.
No,
Or leave it in.
I'll put it up. Don't worry,
Sorry,
it's all good.
Juan. Okay. Whose artwork is amazing. Yes.
It is.
I love the artwork. I, there's this one panel like where Ghost Rider shows up
Yeah,
and it's that page is just looking like this. And it's set in the 70s, which is kind of the first, like, super nerd in me is like, well, that's not how Ghost Rider dressed in the 70s. He wore a big jumpsuit with a collar.
yeah, that's true.
So I did have some issues with it, like, um, Ghost Rider does a peasant stare on someone and Turs basically kills him. And then the nerd in me is just like, well, excuse me, sir, Ghost Rider doesn't kill people with his pen and stare. Also, Danny Ketch was the one with pen and stare, not Johnny Blaze.
Wait, Johnny
So
Blaze didn't have a penance there?
I'm pretty sure he didn't. That
I
was
thought that
like a
was his
thing
whole
that.
thing from the
No, that
inception
was
of the
Danny
character.
Ketch's thing. Johnny Blaze was just like shooting you with hellfire.
What? That
I'm
can't be
pretty
right.
sure.
That
I'm
can't be. I
pretty
thought the whole
sure.
point of the character was the penance stare.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, that's
He never
crazy.
made people. He might have done it like a couple times, but that wasn't like that was Ghost Rider's blazing sword in the 90s was like now for the penance stare to finish you off. And it would
Huh.
just, make you it wouldn't kill you, it would just make you go like, "Oh, I've done bad."
Right.
Um, which, made you feel guilty. But
Well,
I
yeah,
enjoyed the
you're trapped in a hell of guilt, basically,
yeah, yeah,
and internal.
yeah. Which is, kind of dead on with this. I enjoyed the Johnny and thing. Apparently, the thing gets along with any giant. It sets himself on fire.
I I I love the thing, but I don't like if they came out whenever they come out with a thing comic, I'm not like, oh, I'm gonna read that. But I like the thing's characterization, especially in old '80s Marvel,
Yeah,
and this was that for sure. I mean, not that I don't know if there's been any deviation since then. He's probably pretty much the same, but just particularly, I feel like I have a soft spot for that, and I like that it was set in the '70s, and yeah, like the whole dude, it's just like he goes to get a suit for his
yeah.
date, and like there's so first like he's trying on the suit and like he invites Johnny along, so Johnny's sit there in the men's store with him, and while this like tailor guy salesman is like putting the suit on Ben, and he's like, a
Hmm.
lot of polyester, a lot of polyesters died for this outfit. But then after that, like, the guy attending to him was like, how is the fit? And he's like, kind of tight around the good china. I thought that was amazing. Oh my God. It just so fit with that version of the thing that I love so much. But it's a really funny, fun book until about
Yeah,
like 75% of the way in, and then it gets like existential and super serious.
yeah. Which kind of bugged me, but like until then, there's things like once again things that Ghost Rider can't do that he's doing in this, like pulling tentacles out of his bike and latching onto a thing.
So I was going to
Amazing
ask you,
fun. Yeah,
what the fuck is that? Because, and here's the other thing. So the thing basically says, hey, you use that penance stare. Could you use that on Galactus? Look at all the billions of people he's killed. And Ghost
yeah.
Rider's like, oh, maybe. How would I get into space? And then the thing, who his team is known for going into space, like at the drop of a hat, he's like, you'll figure it out, right? So then it goes to like, what, Cape Canaveral or whatever? And Ghost Rider rides up to a spaceship that's about to launch, and he has like an octopus's tentacles under his bike, and it
It
grips.
latches on and kind of absorbs the rocket in a little bit. Like he leeches onto the rocket and rides the rocket into space, which
So
is
was
freaking awesome.
no, but where did the tentacles go? Like, I mean, is there any precedent for that in any Ghost
I have
Rider, or was that just
never
like,
seen Ghost Rider with tentacles before. Like it would have made sense if it was chains, to
Yeah,
me,
that's what I kept saying. I'm
yeah,
like, why aren't
like
these chains? Like,
yeah,
what the
like it's
fuck?
but it's a demon motorcycle, so I guess it makes sense that it has tentacles.
It doesn't make sense.
No,
I mean,
but you
it's
gotta,
fine.
yeah. You roll. I rolled with it. The and the other thing that kind of cracked me up is like all of a sudden Ghost Rider could turn himself into a kaiju,
Oh yeah, yeah.
which he uses chains to do and wraps himself in chains and makes himself into a
Yeah, like a
bigger,
chain cocoon, right?
yeah, like a bigger giant Galactus fighting Ghost Rider. Which
So
hey, sold.
sold. So okay, so first of all, in like the what's his nuts that wrote Wicked and Divine when he was writing X-Men as they were coming out, like the last year of or the last, I don't know, yeah, Sins of Sinister or whatever. There was this
Okay,
thing where Sinister changed the whole timeline. There's everybody's a Sinister, blah 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 blah. But there was a ghost. Galactus was a Ghost Rider, and it was awesome.
really?
Oh, it was fucking. It was like really
I
really
gotta
cool. It was like
find
one of
that.
the best things about that.
How did he become a? Okay,
I don't even
there's
remember if
more.
they say it or not, but yeah, it's like Galactus shows up and he is literally a fucking Ghost Rider. So he's got the flaming head. It
Nice.
was it was very fucking cool.
And the fact that he kind of teams up with created the Cosmic Ghost Rider, Frank Castle,
Yeah.
which one of my favorite things in the last this decade or this century in comic creation was Cosmic Ghost Rider. So yeah, there's a lot of weird Galactus Ghost Rider tie-ins that I've never. That one makes sense to me, but this him fighting him, and now apparently him previous Ghost Rider that was a Galactus Rider, if
Well,
you will.
so I was curious when when the Watcher goes into his explanation, and we're not going to get into it, but it becomes very existential. It's pretty cool, actually. It kind
Yeah,
of it kind of like broaches Grant Morrison territory a little bit, but in a kind of cleaner fashion. And they kind of give you like if anybody's asking like what is the meaning of life in the universe and everything for Marvel, they like J. Michael Straczynski kind of answers that in this book, so that was kind of cool. Um,
yeah,
but they show all these Galactuses. He's basically saying there's always a Galactus, a world devoured, and then it's part of the ebb and flow of these different universes. And they should that missed opportunity, man. There's a panel where they show all of these Galactuses. It's just kind of they're not super specific. You see Galactus and a couple others up close, and then it's kind of like the background is populated with what you can tell are other ones. They should have had Unicron in there because Unicron is obviously like the most Jack Kirby. A lot of Transformers '86 and afterwards, when they're in the future of 2005, it's so Jack Kirby, and
yeah,
Unicron. I knew really for a long time. I guess before I knew Galactus, and then even after I knew both, it was years before I was like, wait a minute. So I just felt like there should have been the outline of Unicron there. I don't know.
yeah. Something like that would have been kind of fun. Uh, I feel like to me though, like the existential stuff kind of lost me. Only because like I'm in it for a silly, like, yeah, we're doing this, we're doing this. Now they're fighting, and it's like all of a sudden it's like, well, no, your pen and snare won't work. Sorry.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I see that, and it definitely like turned the tone of the book, but then it kind of comes
Yeah,
back around at the end.
yeah. At the end
But it
where
was
he's
still
like
it was cool.
goes back to New York in the '70s, which hey has the Twin Towers. That's kind of fun.
Yeah,
I like it when they include that because it's like some people were not shying away from its existence.
yeah,
And he just goes and interrupts Thing's big date.
yeah. Well, the Thing invites him in. Hey, we got an
Yeah.
extra seat here or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's right. You had to think about it. But yeah, overall, like it's a solid book. Outside that little hiccup, I think with the Watcher, um, I would have liked the more silly fun. But I got a lot of sillier fun than I thought I would have gotten out of a book this week.
Yeah, fair.
So yay. Yeah, this is one I didn't even know was coming, didn't even know existed till I saw it on the shelf and was like, wait, what?
Yeah, same.
And that's
Did
that's kind of fun, like you don't get that very often.
completely off my radar. I'm sure, like when I browsed the shelf on Wednesday, I
Hmm.
my eyes just went right over it, you know.
Yeah.
And really the last year or so, anything Marvel is just so off my radar. And now that's changing a little bit because this was great, and two other books that came out. One I'm only going to really talk briefly about because I can't really speak to it, and I think you read it as well. I mentioned The World to Come.
Yeah.
They're doing the Marvel Knights thing again. I don't really know what that means as far
So,
as
from
like,
what I understand, from what I could rather read it, there was Christopher Priest wrote Black Panther, one of the bigger runs of Black Panther, uh, you know, 20 years ago.
yeah,
And, Quesada did Marvel Knights before he took over. He had that little Marvel, remember he had that little Marvel
yeah,
Knights thing with
oh
Daredevil
yeah,
and Black Panther and Punisher.
they saved
So,
Marvel.
kind of, yeah.
No, they did. Yeah, they
Um,
did.
oh,
There's a
100%.
podcast
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. Uh, but yeah, so this is kind of like the continuation of that Black Panther story that
But
Priest did.
but it's going
And
to affect the entire Marvel universe now.
I
So it's just
don't think that's the case. I think it's just I kind of got a vibe that's just a
oh
one-off. That's just the world to come is what it's called. I don't think it has anything to do with um other things other than, if you're a Black Panther fan, especially Christopher Priest's, was it? You'll dig this. And Quesada's doing the artwork, so it took forever for him to make because, his art's slow. Um, and they both kind of co-wrote it. So there's um a lot of stuff going on more related to that and his son because you notice he's older in this too. And it kind of there's a glossary in back where they touch back. I didn't read the whole thing, but I kind of caught it was um
yeah, some of
the
the
various
terminology because I
things
was
ending, which I was kind of like, really?
yeah, I don't want to give that away, but I mean also like I don't even know what the ramifications of that necessarily mean. There's a surface level ramification, but then as far as like there's so much nuance from continuity I don't know. I think this does tie because the stuff that I read, the solicitation stuff I read for this made it sound to me like this is going to affect the Marvel universe, which is the reason why I read this is because I read
Maybe.
Imperial. And Imperial, there's definite like Wakanda is a very big deal in Imperial. And I thought, okay, then the world to come must tie into this, but I don't know that it did. And then I started like reading stuff online, and I became very quickly overwhelmed. Like I didn't realize there's a like galactic Wakandan empire that apparently is separate from Wakanda on Earth, and like I was like, oh my god, okay, hold on,
I
and it was
think that was the last run of Black Panther was a space version where they just get up and leave Earth.
okay.
I didn't read it, so it didn't really appeal to me. So
I mean, I don't really know much about the character. I was exposed to him a little bit in the 70s, and he was fine. I feel like he was more street level. And since, like, I mean, I missed the hype because the movie Civil War broke my Marvel thing. So I've seen very
hmm
little since then. And it's nothing against Black Panther, but everything for the Wakanda movies I've seen they're everything about movies I hate where it's like large battlefields with hundreds or thousands of people fighting and like I'm just like I'm not interested at all. So I missed
I
all of
didn't
that.
I didn't mind the Black Panther first movie. There was things I didn't like about it. I didn't think it was the be all end all Marvel movies. I felt that Killmonger was kind of. I didn't like the fact that he just wore Black Panther's old costume. That kind of bugged me. Like, create your own Killmonger costume. And the fact
Mm-hmm.
he just kind of shows up and they just. A nation who is completely um, isolated from the world and doesn't like outsiders, just let an outsider rule it. Like, at a flip of a hat, no matter what, just because of some technicality. I could not believe that for the life of me. It just threw me off. It wasn't
Hmm.
that oh, is that Michael B. Jordan? I think was Killmonger,
That sounds
right?
right.
Yeah. He did a good job. It's just, and everyone did a good job. And the actor who played Black Panther's name
Chadwick
escapes me now.
Boseman.
Yes, Chad
He's
did an
great.
awesome
I loved him
job.
in
Yes.
the baseball movie he's in. Is it 42? I think.
There is, there's like, did you ever watch, I'm assuming you didn't watch the What If cartoons?
I did actually, and I had no idea Killmonger was a character from the Black Panther movie, so I was so fucking lost when that episode. I only watched the first season, and I was
But
absolutely lost.
there's the Star Lord. What if Star Lord became, or what if T'Challa became Star Lord? Did you see that one? And it's the last Chadwick Boseman's performance because he died shortly after that, doing the voiceover work for that. But it just had the best scene where it's like he's friends with Thanos in that What If universe, and they're like, they just kept going like, "How did you stop him from killing half the world?" I had a compelling argument, and Thanos would be like, "Yeah, he had a point," and that was
I'm
it.
pretty
And they were
sure I saw
friends.
that. It sounds familiar.
Yeah, it was so good. It was. I thought it was gonna be dumb when I watched it. It actually was one of my favorite What Ifs.
Hmm.
Um, But back to this, it was okay. It was nice to see Quasada's artwork. It was kind of nice to read a Marvel Knights type story. But yeah, I didn't read Christopher Priest's run of um, Black Panther, so I don't know much about what's going on in this.
It says in the back like you don't have to read that to read this, but it would definitely enhance the experience of reading this.
Yeah,
So I mean, the thing with Marvel Knights, like at the time, the big one was Kevin Smith. I didn't read it. I didn't care, and I still don't care. Um, Nothing against Kevin Smith or Daredevil because I like both to some
yeah.
degree, but it wasn't a Daredevil story that interested me, so I didn't read it. Um, I was big when Marvel Knights started with Ennis and Dillon doing the Punisher, and I read that the entire run until it became a Max book, and then I don't know why, but I didn't read that. Um, I have none of that anymore. I don't remember I don't even I like there's been so many purgings of comics I've done when I've had to
Um,
move or just if I get pissed off or frustrated with comics or whatever, and I don't know what I did with that, but it is entirely gone.
I have it all in trade except one trade I lent to somebody, and I don't know where it's at.
Oh, that
And they're
sucks.
all out of print, and they all go for money, and it's kind of like,
So later, so late because that was coming out when I lived in Chicago, like years before I moved, right?
yeah.
Because that's like late '90s, very early 2000s.
Hmm.
Later, when I lived in LA, I had a trade of some of the Marvel Knights. I don't remember what it was. It wasn't the Max
Was it
stuff.
you?
No,
I
no, it
lent it
wasn't.
to you.
It wasn't. And I sold it because I mean, I think I got some ridiculous amount of money for it. It
Hmm.
was not yours. I know that. Um,
Damn it.
and
Now I know where it went.
I had the first trade of the Max run, and I lent it to somebody and never got it back. So,
Mm.
same thing, right? But here's the other thing. I love Garth Ennis and I love Steve Dillon.
Yeah.
I don't think I give a shit about that anymore at all because I've been kind of going back through some old Punishers recently, starting with the miniseries
Hmm.
and like the '85 miniseries, which fuck is 40 years old. That blew my mind. But oh, Mike Zeck's artwork. Oh my god, it's to die for. But here's the thing, like I love that, and I love the Mike Baron, Claus Janson, like original, like when it started an Unlimited series in like '86 or '87. The Ennis stuff was cool at the time, but I think back to how they used that in that the movie with uh, what's his fucking name as the
So,
Punisher.
no. God, we were talking about this last time.
Yeah, we were Thomas Jane.
Thomas
And
Jane.
man, you know what? I don't know all that stuff with like the goofy guys that live in the apartment building with him and whatnot. I think that's best left back then. I don't need like my and soap. Remember there was the cop soap that was always like I don't want that in my
Oh,
Punisher.
I've one of my favorite lines is like where Punisher sees that bear, the polar bear. He's running from
No,
the mob. He sees the polar bear,
yeah,
looks at it, goes cute, docile, whatever. That won't do. Sucker punches the bear, turns around and runs, and then the one gangster just walks in and goes, "Oh, look, a bear!" Whop.
Foomp, yep. Oh, that was yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just because why is that stuff not reprinted or like what is why is it out of print?
So
Is
the Welcome Back Frank is in print all the time. It's the other stuff that isn't. And it comes and goes. There's like either like thick collections of it, or like a thing. They're never all there's never like all in one because one of it is Marvel Knights, the other is Max, and I don't think the two technically are the same, even though they are the same, you know?
yeah, okay, that makes sense. That makes
Um,
sense.
so I've seen a couple of like chunky like omnibuses they put out a couple of years ago. I don't know if they're doing thicker collections of that, but I do know Walking Back Frank is constantly in print
Okay.
because it's a big seller. It's the other stuff that doesn't seem to be doing, which is weird. Um, but it isn't always in print.
That opening trade in the Max run, like where it culminates with him killing Microchip, just I'll never forget reading that. It like literally dropped
Yeah,
my jaw, like completely insane. And I always liked Ennis's idea that like, yeah, he's a serial killer. That's how I'm going to treat him.
yeah,
Yeah, like I did like that, and again, I love Ennis and Dillon. I love when they like Preacher, and the thing is that Punisher, especially the Knights, it really feels a lot like Preacher because it's populated with all these weird oddball Garth Ennis characters, right? And they're drawn by Steve Dillon. But I just look maybe there's a place for it. I don't know, but I just look back and I just love that really gritty, really fucking gritty mid to late 80s Punisher before it got strip mined and there were fucking 3 or 4 titles and I mean it just they ran it into the goddamn ground. But
he had a superpower.
well, this even before that,
They gave his guns his own book.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's the Punisher Armory. It's literally
Oh
just
yeah.
page after
Um,
page of gun porn.
well, that was like they did that for GI Joe too. I forget what that was called, but it was like all the
Yeah, but
vehicles and the weapons and whatnot.
G.I. Joe has weird, weapons.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's science fiction weapons and vehicles and stuff like that, where,
Well, not in the comic. It wasn't science
Punisher,
fiction then.
to a point. I mean, they're selling
No.
toys.
Well, I don't know. But no,
It's
it's a
all
point
about
taken.
selling toys. Yeah,
Point
where
taken.
Punisher is just like, this is my AK-47. It was like a one-page splash page of an AK-47 sitting on a table. It's like,
Dude,
okay.
here's an idea. Here's an idea, which they won't do because they're trying to like pull the Punisher back, and I think doing a great job, like we talked about last time, from being
Yeah.
this like kind of like extreme right wing thing. But if they really want to capitalize on that audience, do a Punisher Armory swimsuit issue where all the guns are in bathing suits with breasts. That shit would sell because there's people reading the gun magazines jerking off already. So just put boobs on them, and there you go, man. Won't be
I
coming out of
like
their
it.
mom's basements for fucking weeks. Probably anybody who clicked on this wanted to hear us talk primarily about Ghost Rider versus Galactus and probably Imperial. So we should probably talk about Imperial.
Oh yeah, that thing that we said like an hour ago, like we'll just touch up on World to Come for a second. 1 hour later.
So I didn't even know this was going to be out. I saw it at the cover struck my eye, and I saw Jonathan Hickman, and I was like, interesting. And I bought it, and I've read it twice now. I fucking love it. I'm totally on board.
Okay.
And I know, like the Marvel cosmic shit. Here, I read Infinity Gauntlet when it came out in 1991 or 92, like everybody else did at the time.
Okay.
And I guess I loved it. I dabbled with Silver Surfer, and then I thought I was going to get into the cosmic end of Marvel, and they were kind of trying to push that again at that time, and they had Operation Galactic Storm. Terrible title because it was literally coming out like either right after or during Operation Desert Storm, right? So
Yes.
it was like a weekly thing that ran through all these books I would have never read, like Quasar, and I don't even remember what else. And I read it for a couple weeks, and I just remember, even as a kid, I'm like 16 at the time, I just stopped reading it, and that was the end of Cosmic Marvel for me forever. Until Hickman's X-Men leads into Al Ewing writing Sword and then X-Men Red. And those are two of the, like, X-Men Red is still like the best Marvel book I've read in like 10 years, easily. And it got me interested. You know, they weren't completely cosmic, but they touched on a lot of shit. Like Nova was a recurring character in X Men Red, and the Shi'ar, who I've always abhorred in, whenever they'd show up in Uncanny X Men, I was always like, oh, I'm gonna hate the next three issues. I fucking hate this Imperial guy with the mohawk. I hate Lalandra. I hate Deathbird. That just, I never cared for any of that shit. But dude, this, like, we start with Hulk and She-Hulk and Brendan Cho, who is Brute, who's another Hulk. I don't know who he is. Going.
He is the totally awesome Hulk.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right. I remember
Yeah.
that. I remember that. Well, so we have like two hidden figures playing chess that start this, and they're clearly like they're the string pullers, right? And this reminds me so much of Chris Claremont's X-Men. It's unbelievable.
So
Um,
is the one smiling Loki? That was my first thought.
so that's what it seems like it has to be, right?
Yeah.
It definitely seems like it has to be. And then we go into this like Hulk's son is dead, so they go to the planet that was Planet Hulk is gone, so there's a new Planet Hulk, and they go there.
Yeah.
Completely lost, but I have enough understanding to navigate this part of it. When we get into Jason and Star Lord, I'm really treading water here because I'm like, I don't know. But dude, I don't care. I really enjoyed this and I want to know more. I don't know. What do you think?
So this is in itself here is the first Jonathan Hickman book I can actually finish.
Really?
Really, because I do not like his writing at all. And the things I don't like about didn't really rear its head on me this time around. Um, but overall, I don't really care. The only
Okay.
thing I cared about was World War Hulk, like Emperor Hulk. I like the Hulk. I like the Hulk when he is I don't read a lot of Hulk, but like, Planet Hulk and World War Hulk were one of my favorite Hulk stories. And
Hmm.
the fact that this is kind of continuing that whole thing where he's
Yeah.
just like on the planet, like I get that. It didn't really read like the Hulk to me. Like I feel like the Hulk is a little he's angriness, but he's really holding it in. Because his son died, and I
Well,
feel
I
like
don't
he
think
should
it's
have
the
been
Hulk
angrier.
that's in the
But
current comic book, which I don't read, but this is
yeah,
more
I get
like a
it. It's just
continuation of that Planet Hulk Hulk.
continuation of like, yeah, I get it. I feel like even then he was a little more angrier, but I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it. Let's just leave it
Okay.
at that. Um, yeah, it was okay. I didn't dislike it. I don't think I could continue with it
Okay.
because it is the Cosmic Guys. I don't really care about the Cosmic Guys. But I'm glad I read it. I got a rough idea what's going on. I thought it was a little interesting, but not super. It didn't grab me. Let's just leave it at that.
So I think it's really basically Hulk's son is killed, and he was the emirate of the Planet Hulk, the
Yeah,
Sakaar and New or whatever.
he was their leader.
Yeah, and you find out three other like leaders of planets were assassinated in the exact same way with this exact same combination of poisons. And then you go into this Fulcrum City Station, which this I think is the crux of what's going on because this is
The Citadel of Ricks. I
the
kept looking at this
Citadel
like,
of
oh, it's
Ricks.
the
Nice.
Citadel of Ricks.
this says like it says the primary construction of the Galactic Council's interstellar hub was completed 2 cycles ago. When it first came online, it was publicly stated the purpose was to provide a central nexus for both intergalactic travel and trade between council territories. However, some believe the true reason for its existence is the formation of a centralized political power structure and an origin point for what is suspected to be a formalized union of the galactic council systems. So, in other words, there's people trying to use this hub to pull power over all of the disparate, I don't know, galaxies or whatever you want to call them. I don't know if it's galaxies or
Well,
whatever, planets.
didn't Peter Quill's dad say that like no, that that's not really happening, just think that's happening or
Yeah,
something
well,
like that?
yes, which just says that it is
Which
absolutely happening. It is
sort of.
absolutely happening.
I don't think it's
Um,
like a power thing as much as like a United Nations in space,
yeah, but I
which
think
in
there's a power
itself
thing too.
is yeah,
I think there's a power thing too. And I don't know because I don't know the characters, but that's what I pick up between the lines from this, from like Nova
yeah.
basically saying like, telling Star Lord like, look, you're a criminal and your dad is a power hungry aristocrat, which is a worse form of criminal. So there's definitely elements that make me think that that is what's happening, and so whoever's poisoning these people are trying to prevent this, and then we get the last act is this big council meeting with Jason, which is so funny because it's like Jason, right?
Yeah.
It's just like a space
Jace.
version of Jason.
Jason.
um,
Jace
Presiding over this
off.
council meeting with all these ambassadors from all these different races, and then a fucking sniper open. And I'm not going to say who they show who the sniper is, or it's not a who, but it's of what faction the sniper is from. And I mean, it just I was really kind of blown away. Like there's a lot of levels of shit going on here, but the best is when it ends, the last panel. Like the last page, you've got Ronan and Star-Lord, Nova and Deathbird, and they're all basically like, you know, uh, we know who did this, we know who did this, we know who did this. What do we do now? And like Deathbird is like, there is blood on our feathers and a bitter taste of betrayal in our mouths. It will not go unanswered. There's only one thing that can follow. And the last panel is Hulk, and he just says, war.
War. Yeah.
I
That
mean,
that
dude,
that
that's
might
a
give me
mic
a thumb
drop.
through the next one.
That's a mic
Uh
drop right there, man.
yeah.
I thought that was fucking awesome. So I'm on board. I think this is a
I,
gorgeous book. Iban Coelho is doing some of the art, and he did, I believe, Dark Ages, and I love his fucking art on Dark Ages.
yeah, Dark Ages was good. Yes.
It's Hickman, Federico Vincentini, Iban Coelho, and Federico Blee, and all of the art's great.
I did laugh at that feathers line because like halfway through this book, I'm just like, it's the Citadel of Ricks. And I kept going Rick and Morty, then she said that better. Feathers like, oh look, it's Birdman. or
Nice. Man, I, I'm so, I guess here's the thing. I'm very critical of Marvel, but I don't want to be, right?
there's nothing wrong with that.
And since they spurred me with X-Men, man, and I still just think like, how could you walk away from Krakoa? I just don't understand. Um, so that still festers with me, but I want something from them that I can read and be excited about, and that's this. Like I really, really
Yeah.
like this, and also it's nice to go back to that 16-year-old Sean that was trying to read Galactic Operation Galactic Storm and was just like, okay, even as a 16-year-old that really doesn't have that much taste, like this sucks. I'm not reading this shit. Again, a bunch of issues. I don't even know where any of those comics went. They disappeared a long time ago. I have no idea what I did with them. But like I'm glad that that guy now, because he's in here somewhere, right, gets to read some cosmic Marvel, and it's actually fucking good.
I did like um shoot. Because I was all into what's his face when he was writing the guy who created Cosmic Ghost Rider, whose brain is like my
Oh,
brain is pretty much
Donny Cates.
Danny Cates, right. He did a run on a 12 issue run of Guardians of the Galaxy that was really good too. And
Really?
that was kind of like, yeah, it was all part of his, I was all into this thing till he stopped writing Marvel due to issues, the health issues, which sucks.
Yeah.
But he was setting up this whole universe thing, and I wanted to see where it went. And so I was, and Cosmic Ghost Rider was in it for a couple of issues, so I had to pick it up and check it out. But that was a really good cosmic, like on that scale of a big event. I think in that one, like Thanos had died, and they had to like bury the body or find the murderer or something like that. Like
Oh,
Thanos
I
was dead, and they
remember
had to like,
reading
yeah,
about this.
yeah,
I would definitely say, folks, all three of these books, Imperial especially, I fucking love this book. I'm very excited. I think if you dug what Hickman has done for other aspects
if
of
you're
the
a Hickman
Marvel,
fan.
I
And
think you'll dig this.
there was another series a couple years ago that I think Hickman wrote that had like Wiccan and it was like the Skrull guy, the Skrull Hulk guy who was became king. Did Hickman
Is
write
it?
that one too?
I don't know. Is I
It,
see? Hulk's kid. Is that Hulkling?
Hulkling is not Hulk's kid. Hulkling is a Skrull who was in the Young Avengers who changed into the Hulk to be the Hulk version of the Young Avengers because the Young
Oh my
Avengers were all
God.
younger versions of yeah.
Yeah, I know, but that just makes me want to fucking burn shit down.
But
It looks such a convoluted. Oh,
he's in
God.
this. He's the king of the Skrulls with the
Oh,
blonde
really?
hair and the yeah, that's him. Where he's like going like, "Hey, you guys didn't do this, did you?" When they accuse the Skrulls of the murder, and they're all like,
Oh.
"No, we didn't do that. That's Skrull. That's Hulkling and Wiccan there because they're a couple.
Oh, now I
I
get
mean,
it.
they're a
Okay, now
couple.
I
Yeah,
get it. Now I understand. Because I was like, who's the white guy that's with the scroll? Okay.
yeah.
Okay, now I get it. Okay. Thank you, because that was perplexing me. Um, but I would definitely say so. Imperial, I hands down totally recommend. Galactus versus Ghost Rider versus Galactus, tons of fun, one shot, in and out, and then
Exactly.
the world to come. I mean, I'm not gonna recommend it, but I would definitely say check it out. I enjoyed it, and like I said, it's a premium looking. If there's that many ads, you might want to wait for a trade because that shit pissed me off. If there's that many ads, I might not pick it up on Wednesday. I might wait, and I probably wouldn't
Thumb
buy it in
through it and
trade. But
laugh.
yeah, I don't know. It's gorgeous, but again, I was more lost in that than I was lost in Imperial. I had no fucking idea what was going on in that at all. Uh,
Well, Imperial also was a straight through story. World of Tomorrow Come was like 10 years before this, 4 years before that, 20 years after that, 10
and
years
yeah,
before this. Yeah, it
so
was a little
you want to
confusing.
know what the event is that they're the world to come is the event that all of the dates are like 10 years before the world to come, 26 years before it, 4 years, blah, blah, blah. So you want to know what it is, but like ultimately, I don't know. I just was like, man,
Well,
I'm so
isn't the
lost.
world to come was 16 years after the world to come? Wakanda, Wakanda years before the world to come. Yeah, they didn't say what the world to come was. I thought the world to come was when his son took over because he dies. It's not shocking. He dies in the first um, age. So I thought that was the world to come, but I was wrong. That was actually 16 years
Yeah,
after the
I
world
don't
to
think we've
come.
seen it yet, but I don't
So
know.
I'm assuming the world that comes when Black Panther dies and the son takes over.
Yeah, but I get the sense because they reference like how many people will die because the sun takes over. So I'm assuming there's some big event that's going to happen because the sun takes over. But
Ah,
so it's a little bit of a gotta see, but I don't know. I don't feel the way I I don't feel about that the way I feel about Imperial, where I'm like I'm on
yeah.
board. I want to see everything that happens. And Galactus versus Ghost Rider was like there's nothing else to come. It's like this was a fun one shot. It was great. So
You need those every once in a while.
yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, I agree. That's new Marvel, and this
Ooh.
is an IPA that's not warm, so I'm gonna finish this. And
I
yeah,
finished mine a while ago.
I'm Sean,
I'm Mike.
and it's Drinking with Comics. We'll be back soon to talk about another
Yes,
comic and more beer.
hopefully.
Hi, I'm Sean. Join me and my friends every week for the Horror Vision, where we talk about horror movies.